Okay, so where on the interval between 0 and pi is the secant line parallel to the tangent line? Well, secant line is just another way to say the average rate of change. And the tangent line is a way to say the instantaneous rate of change. So I know this whole handout was about mean value theorem, so that's very obvious. But again, then when you see it on the test and it doesn't say mean value theorem, sometimes you have to interpret that that's what it's looking for. So the instantaneous rate of change, that's what gives us a tangent line. That's the derivative. So to take this derivative, you have to do product rule. The derivative of x with sine left alone, then the derivative of sine with x left alone. So that's what I'm getting for the tangent line. You okay with that part? Okay. Then the secant line, which is just a visual for the average rate of change, is really just the slope formula. So that would be f of pi minus f of 0 over pi minus 0. Slope formula. Okay, now this is where I often make mistakes, so I usually slow down here. Plugging in numbers and doing the arithmetic too quick is definitely a problem. But plug in pi into the function, you get pi times the sine of pi. And what is the sine of pi? 0. So we got to review a little unit circle there. At pi, the y value is 0, so sine is 0. And f of 0 would be 0 times the sine of 0, which is also 0, but who cares? So we get 0 over pi. So it looks like the average rate of change in red is 0. So this could also be called a Rolle's theorem question. Rolle's theorem is just this unique mean value question where the average rate of change is 0. But mean value theorem says this instantaneous rate has to equal the average rate if the function is continuous and differentiable between 0 and pi. Okay, so to solve this, you just can't do this by hand. Like you could maybe guess and check some values, and maybe depending on what the answer was, you could get it. But realistically, you need a calculator. So that's why there's a calculator symbol. So if you went to your calculator, you could also do it with graphing, but I do think equation solver is better. I don't really know why I think it's better, but for some reason I do. So math at the bottom, equation solver. One side was the instantaneous rate of change, which was sine of x plus x cosine of x. And the other side is 0. Go down. Again, you have to use this sometimes to know how to use it. Like you have to practice it. This is not the answer. This was the answer to the last question I did, last period. You have to have your cursor here and you have to hit alpha enter to get it to recalculate that. And that's about 2.029. And then that matched up with the last card, number 16. So I knew that was good and I moved on. Okay, so you said it was the equation solver. Is there something more specific? That was enough? Okay. It could also be that your calculator does need to be in radians. Nothing in calculus should be in degrees. It should always be in radians. So if you're in radians, you're going to get some weird number there that's not going to work out. But that's okay, because that's the type of stuff that could happen to you on the test, and I want you to avoid now. Was anybody else going to ask this one? Have any follow-up to that?
Wait, how do you do the equation solver?
Go to math. Go to the bottom. Equation solver, numeric solver. I think it's called a few different things depending on your calculator. Type in one side of your equation here, the other side of your equation here. Unless you have a different calculator, it could be different. go down to the next screen, and then hit alpha enter while your calculator is blinking on this x equals, and it will update this with the solution. Now, one thing that's tricky about this, and I think this comes up in a different question, I don't remember which one it was, but this equation solver only gives you one answer, and sometimes you guys know equations have more than one answer. So this was just the first one that it found. If I thought there was an answer near 10, you should type in 10 and then do alpha enter. See, look, there's another answer at 11.086. You see what I'm saying? Equation solver is only smart enough to give you one answer, though. So when I first did it, oh, well, if you have it at 0, I guess 0 is an answer. So it says 0 is an answer. But that might not be the answer they're looking for. So sometimes you need to change this. It's kind of like a guess, and then hit alpha enter, and it will change it to the nearest answer that it can find. Put in a 2. The nearest answer was 2.029. So simply knowing where it is and being able to type it in, you guys have to play with it occasionally. Otherwise, you're not going to know how to find the other solutions when you need them.